All right. Hello, everybody. We're so excited you're here for another episode of Human Design Hot Topics. I am, of course, here with my lovely co-host, Janelle. And then today we get to talk to my friend, Matt, who is a 2/4 mental projector. And Matt and I have a mental projector mastermind coming up in the end of August. So we're just here to nerd out on being a mental projector together. So thank you so much for being here, Matt. It's so good to talk to you and introduce you to everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Spoiler alert, this is a mental projector episode, so that's what we're going to be talking a lot about. I mean, I'm sure we'll go off on tangents on other stuff, but yeah, that's what we are, so that's what we know.
And I think that's most of our audience, so everybody's happy.
Yay. Yeah, so I'm excited we're all here. I'm excited we started the Facebook, by the way. We started a mental projector Facebook, Rebeka and I, that goes along with the environment mental projector on Instagram situation. So if you want to check us out, I'm talking about that now because this is a very mental projector-centric episode. So I thought I'd throw it in there.
Yay.
So I guess I thought this was interesting what you said before, Rebeka, like the life of a mental projector or the days, the life and times of a mental projector. I thought it was kind of a cool thought because we talk about strategy and authority all the time. We talk about how we're different and how having nothing defined below really changes how we are day to day, but we don't really talk about what that means for us, you know?
Yeah. And there's a lot of nuance to it. And one thing that Matt really got my attention on, he was just talking one day on his stories about he has kind of a theory that we're a bit of a hybrid of reflector and mental projector. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've said this before too. And so we just got started talking. So I was just curious, Matt, if you had any other insights on that or wanted to share your viewpoint on that, because I think it would be fun to explore.
Okay, thanks. Do have to own the fact that I'm in my natal sun earth energy, so there'll be a balance between acceptance and revolution, or last resort kind of revolution. So let's just navigate that together a little bit. Okay. But yeah, my position is that that a mental projector is the most underserved aspect of the human design knowledge base. And that I found, when I originally found out about human design, after studying all kinds of psycho-spiritual archetypical systems like Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, DISC, you name it, so on, and try to figure out like why I felt so different from other people, and are all of these feelings that come up and everything that human design provided the clearest perspective on it. But then there was a point walk ended up to the point where like I'm very thirsty for information about what it means to be a mental projector, how we operate correctly in this world, how we come into clarity, all of these things, and only to find that the source information just stops abruptly. Yeah, these people out for themselves, and like 30 years later, we still haven't like taken that invitation. And so the thing the thing that really lights me up is trying to figure out, like really what is the function, purpose of a mental projector? How do they operate correctly, in the environments that they feel drawn to, and how do they take up space in the world correctly as themselves? How do we fit in properly and not wind up becoming the to use a raw terminology, the super slave of the environment that we're operating in? I see you nodding. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, the video just stopped. I have really poor mountain rural internet, so apologies.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it's I feel like it's time for us to kind of wake up as a subtype, and like sort of the little fragment that flowed in was that I'm married to a 3/5 manifesting generator, and the way that I've really learned is like through studying, like what's around, what's in my environment. So I have this hybrid type, and I know that like the fundamentalists in human design, there are 4 aura. I get all the aura stuff. Like we get lost in the weeds sometimes. But the fact is that we have an augmented strategy for a subtype of a sacral being that is part manifester strategy, not aura, strategy, and also signature, because they can be prone to anger and and to be able to utilize anger in a really correct way. And so it left me thinking about most mental projectors, when I look at their body graph, it looks almost like a reflector. There's so much similarity in the amount of openness that's there. And you could say that about a lot of types for sure. But the fact that we don't have an established authority in our form, in our body, is also another similarity to projectors. And I'm not saying that we're lunar beings. I think that we're cosmic beings, and that it's not just the lunar cycle that our decision-making matures through. It's the totality of all of the planetary bodies that have influence over our progression through time, and so we come into clarity over time through the planetary transits and how each planetary transit tickles our hanging gates, as well as our connection, like auric connections as well. So it just takes time for an idea to mature through our openness as we come in contact with what that hanging definition is looking for. It has to complete the circuit and the operation, and then eventually it's just like, aha, this is the right way to be. Or, oops, I made a mistake. How can I claw back to this place where I can get back into flow and out of resistance?
We have a lot of mistakes as third lines,
Yeah,
that's what we're here to show. Hooray! I know you think that's hilarious. Just the most funniest thing. As 2/4, it's just hilarious. My husband is also a 2/4, so I have projected my profile jealousy onto him a little bit. It's mostly funny, but it's also I can see Rebeka. It's funny, but it's not funny at the same time. It's 98% funny, and then a little bit of it is
yeah. Well, because Matt and I had talked about this, because I told him, I'm like, here's the projection I have about 2/4. And he's like, yeah, well, it's not all cookies and cupcakes all the time. So anyway, we had a discussion, but yes, we get jealous of the 2/4 a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, let me see if I can. Oh, I could come back. Yay. There's a lot of projected jealousy on on that natural thing. And then there's also a lot of doubt, because things just come to you and you're like, is this true? So I specifically love 1/3s, because I find that they do a really good, I have personal view. So they have a really good, they investigate really well in the trigram, so they're not looking out in the big perspective, they're in the personal view, what I can understand. So there's a good interplay between those things. But it's really difficult, because we live in a world that wants you to cite your source.
Yeah,
as a natural, how are you going to cite your source? I know what I know. I'm not here to prove anything. I have a wide open G center, but I live in opposition to a world that wants me to do everything that I'm not.
What about the 3/6? How do you feel about that? Now I want to know what you think about me.
Well, I mean, my youngest son is a 3/6 MG.
Really?
So
we're pretty rare, the 3/6.
Yeah, I'm fond of the profile. It seems like I have a lot of empathy. Would be if I were to imagine, changing into those mechanics, that I could see how it, especially in early life, just how wild the ride could be. And as a mental projector,
yeah. And the 6 line part is weird, because when I first heard the word role model, I was like, that's not I don't want that responsibility. That's too much responsibility for me. And that was the specific word that I thought, before I realized how much I avoid responsibility and how much that freaks me out. And then I realized that it's like, it's the opposite. It's zero responsibility to anyone as a 6 line. Like you don't worry about it, man. Like you just kind of let people come in and see what you're doing, and you tell them about your stuff. It's basically an extension of the sharing of the 3rd line, but you just don't care. So it helps me with my 3rd line have less like of a freak out if stuff blows up in my face. Cause I'm like, well, it's kind of supposed to go that way. So who cares?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're here to, you could look at it like at the superficial level that it's almost role modeling experimentation. And the thing, I'm a technical product manager by trade. So experimentation is a big aspect of product development. And when you run experiments, a failure is as valuable, if not more valuable than a success. So being able to role model failure and success and how to fail upwards feels like a really cool baton to be handed in life. It
is until you go, oh, but success is my fucking signature. So I want that thing.
But I'm telling you, like failure is success. It's like it's learning deeply how not to do something, how to do it better.
I know.
There's success in failure.
It's just a hard one. It's like you said before about how everybody wants you to cite your source. Everybody wants you to be neat and tidy and clean with your stuff, like with your life. Like they want you to keep it tight, I feel like. And so when a 3rd line is like, well, thank you, I appreciate it. But the whole world is not as nice as you or accepting, I guess, or open-minded.
Yourself. You're not here. You're not here to worry about that.
I'm not. I'm really not. I don't.
Who cares what the world wants? I don't care if the world wants me to prove my worth.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Of course, my north node is the keynote is aloofness. I forget the gate number, but like my mechanics are on point for that. So I understand the struggle. I have insecurities as well.
I was looking at the transit because you just mentioned we were talking about how transits really affect us. I like how you said tickle your gates. And so now I hadn't looked at my transit yet today. And it's always interesting to me when my G center is still undefined in the transits, because I have 5 defined G center gates. That's where my cross is. And so whenever it's not defined, when that's like the most places I have little gates to tickle, it's always, I'm like, why? Like, wow, I'm really not supposed to know where I'm going today.
Yeah, it sounds like you're like kind of phasing in and out of vulnerability, right? It's like yourself is sometimes defined and it's fixed and it's secure. It's got armor on, and then the armor just gets ripped away. It's not like you're consciously doing it. It's you're departing some door, or a planet is moving or something like that. And then there you are, just kind of naked again.
Is your partner like defined a lot as a manifesting generator, or a little?
She's got a lot going on downstairs. Defined sacral, open root, believe it or not.
That's gotta be hard.
I have a completely open root G and will center.
Man.
So yeah, a lot of fun deconditioning.
Does she, or do you tell her about the transits, or does she? I find that a lot of times my generator people don't really care about the transits or pay attention at all. And then the non-sacrals are like, what's happening? I'm feeling all this stuff. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, we go in and out but I really enter into the experiment for sure. Is to like take it a little step at a time and not try to rush to like full understanding and whatnot. So for me, that feels really correct. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I'm doing the video thing, by the way. It's not like a ghost.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm managing
so
audio. I want to see you, but I also want to hear you. So I'm like experimenting with face and voice.
Okay, cool. I'm just making sure we still have connectivity.
Your audio is always pretty good. When it gets blunt, I take your video off. I banish you.
Sounds good. All right. we're synced. Yeah. So yeah, she's a splenic. So she's not like a pure MG. Like her authority is filtered through spleen. So it's a lot. Mm-hmm. It's a lot to learn from. Mm-hmm. It's a lot to struggle with, because I have the 28 and she has the 35. So we give one another that defined root, and we've agreed for the last 30 something years to struggle together. And we're just now starting to learn what is and is not worth fighting for and struggling together in, and whose water is whose, and all of this sort of stuff. So it's been an interesting year or so of like really rendering into this experiment together. And mm-hmm. she, again, to answer your question, she phases in and out of wanting to know a little bit more. And so mm-hmm. you just drop in a little seed and let that seed germinate and, kind of blossom. And then just, we're here to wait. You just wait for the next step to materialize. There's no desire driving it at all. It's just a natural progression of things. And we study the I Ching, where the system is in every line every single day together, and we listen to that every day. And it's got this crazy plot line that is so on the button of what's really materializing in the collective and through all of these hexagrams. So that's how she studies the transits, not so much in a mechanical way, more in a philosophical way, because she's married to a philosopher.
That's cool.
That is really cool.
I love that. My husband could give two shits, but he's very supportive. He just doesn't he's a defined spleen, sacral, heart. So I call him my caveman, because he's just very instinctual energy, and that's pretty much it. And he's a 2-4. So
yeah, well, he doesn't
care, but he's very supportive of what anything that I tell him. He's like, cool, or he'll ask me something and be like, neat. But one time I said I was recording him on my phone, and I said, what do you know about generators? Because he's a generator. And he's like, I don't know anything. I said, well, what do you remember from what I told you? And he goes, I'm supposed to do what I like to do and not do what I don't like to do. And I was like, good job. And I left it at that, because it's just, it's hard. Like you said, I think it's cool that you guys look at it together, but I also like that I don't have to show him stuff or teach him stuff, because I don't really like teaching human design, to be quite honest. I want people to come to me knowing things so that we can talk, because it's easier for me, but I don't. Rebeka's the teacher. She's a great teacher.
Thank you.
I mean, that sounds right. That sounds right for a 6-line on the roof.
Yeah.
You're up on the roof. People are supposed to come to you.
Yeah.
And 1-3s are great educators. It makes
oh my God, she's so good.
All of the mechanics. And we all want, we all want that, I think, we all I'm not I don't do foundational readings for people. I don't want to introduce somebody to the body graph. I just don't have the energy to sit with somebody in those early phases. There are other people out there that have really, first of all, I don't even have investigatory energy. When I try to study the system, I have about 10 minutes, and then I got 10 minutes of quality investigatory energy, and then it just fades into nothing. And I'm just forcing myself to get better at having to learn all of this stuff. And it was at the moment that I surrendered into it's just going to come to me through osmosis, and do what you've always done, which is divination stuff. You studied the I Ching for years, just look at it through the lens of the I Ching. Then the system just started teaching itself to me. Right. So you just kind of find your own way. But yeah, who wants to hold someone's hand through all of this? We're here to guide elite level people that are ready to go. They're ready to really learn and expand. And
yeah, I had such a hard time with that when I first started to get really into human design, because I was like, well, this thing is niche and no one knows about this, so I have to teach them about it. I have to show them all about it. They're going to be just as interested as me, clearly. So I got to teach everybody. And so I had foundational readings, and they would take me 3 hours, and I was exhausted, and I did not care for it. Even when I was charging as much as I possibly thought I could, I was like, I can't sustain this. This is awful. Like, I don't like doing this. And so I really moved what I do from, this is your human design. This is what I know from studying. I also have a terrible time studying. I can't like focus. I have a really hard time focusing, but
well, it's all your right arrows.
I know. And then you teach me so much, but I agree with him. It's like with what Matt said, the harder I try to study, the less I retain. But when we're talking and you say, oh, by the way, this thing, that's like stuck in my brain. I'm like, shit, Rebeka just taught me something new, and it never leaves. Other stuff just like goes in and out because I'm bored and I don't want to read this thing. Or, I mean, Ra's voice sometimes is like monotone, and it's real difficult for me to listen to. I know you can listen to like
he
a
just
2-hour.
annoys me because he doesn't talk about what he's supposed to talk about, and he goes on tangents. I'm like, stop wasting my time.
I don't even think I get to that point. I'll be listening to Ra for like 5 minutes and I'm like, okay, your voice is just like putting me to sleep.
But I mean, when I'm getting into it, like there's a lot of good stuff. It just annoys me when he goes on it.
I like to filter it through you. You tell me.
And that's what I'm meant to do.
Can I hop in?
Yes,
yeah.
Real quick, because I think that this is what we're discussing right now is a really good example of what I see in our true authority, which I won't name. I don't accept soundboarding as my authority. I don't. My authority does not accept that. That's for self-projected individuals. I do soundboard, however. What we're doing right now is really describing what I see as another part, just like the soundboarding, not the authority, but an aspect of our authority, environmental authority. Are you moving towards something, or are you feeling like, like sort of averse to it, or I'm moving away from it? So that like we do have a lot of sensitivity that is overwhelmed by other stimulation that's not us, that we have to learn how to tune into where our edges are, where our true energetic boundaries are, and realize how the environment is malforming that or reshaping it. And so when I try to force myself to act like Rebeka, my whole body goes, and it just like, and my mind goes haywire, everything goes nuts. Well, that's my environmental authority, like leading me into resistance so that I can stop trying to do stuff and just allow life to come to me. Correct, like to operate correctly. It's showing me, like, I think we have the easiest authority there is. That's my hypothesis.
Wow.
Is that we're actually the simplest, most straightforward, like easiest to operate. Like if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. For real. Like I've never met a mental projector that like I don't intellectually respect. Not one. I've met several of them. I haven't met tons of them, but like, I mean, we tend to be relatively smart people, capable people. Maybe not physically for like endurance and stuff like that, but like I trust our minds. Like we have mental authority to a degree that like a lot of people don't. And this is just an expression of that. It's like, like if we just listen to ourselves, it leads us into correctness, and correctness leads us into flow. And then life just gets easier and easier, and we can enjoy the life that we came here to witness instead of trying to create some other life that's been conditioned upon us.
Is there anything that you would say that maybe it makes it harder for us to hear ourselves? Like, can you, is there a time when a mental projector could be like, hey, this is what I think that I want, or this is what I think that but I don't know if I can trust my voice. I don't know if I can trust it.
Well, I mean, I can say one thing. I mean, there's one thing that has to be sort of accepted is the fact that we don't have a defined G center. None of us do. So there really isn't an identity. There's not a defined identity. So like this idea of self is a little bit wonky. Like I am a differentiated form of energy. Like but I have this very fluid identity. I become my environment. I become the people that I'm guiding. I'm constantly in flux. And it's only my mind that's trying to measure me against who I used to be. That's causing all of that dysfunction, that interplay between trying to hold ourselves accountable to who we think we are, because we're not here to think what we are. We're here to be what we are. And then you surrender into just being whatever it is that you are. You're not holding yourself accountable to who you were 5 seconds ago, because somebody else might have walked in the room and they changed you. And that's okay. That's your mechanics.
Man.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I tell Rebeka all this time that I don't trust. I feel like the universe is trying to trick me, or I'm trying to trick me, or something's tricking me. And so anytime I think I have like a sincere thought about what I want or who I should be, I feel like it's a trick. Like it's not real. And I don't know how to like push past that. I'm a big crier, so
Okay. Well,
surprise, but that's where
okay
I get stuck. Huh?
Are you okay? Like,
yeah. This is a mechanical thing that happens when I talk about anything that's important to me, or anyone else talks about anything that's important to them.
Okay, I just want to respect your solar. I mean, like your ability to choose to avoid. You're leaning into it, so right?
Oh well, yeah, because there's not. I've been like this my whole life. I was super avoidant of it when I was younger, and I didn't allow people to see me like this. But now I realize that if I want to use my voice, which is kind of what I'm here to do, this kind of comes along. I'm not upset. Like as I'm saying these things, I'm happy. It feels like I'm telling you something that's like, reach into my heart. Here you go. Like that's what it feels like. So I get very vulnerable, and then I'm just like, I cry during any session I have with a person. I cry during most of our podcasts.
Yeah, like to say she's cried at every episode we've ever done. So.
It's just, it's something about the human connection is like,
yeah. Well, no, I mean, it sounds like, one of those moments where you get to see yourself, right? Like, I mean, that's like what we're dancing around is like, who is this thing that I've been trying, this picture that I've been trying to create my whole life of what I am. And like, I mean, what I was saying is basically that's I mean, I don't mean to be derogatory, but it's kind of like, that's the fool, that's in the archetype of the tarot, that's the fool's errand, is to, for us mechanically, to try to like say, I am this. What is this I? There is no definition there. You are us. You are the thing that we, that you are your environment. You're an environmental projector. That was what Ra originally referred to us as.
That's what we refer to ourselves as a lot of times. Yeah. I feel like it's just shortened it. They just took the environment and they took it off. And they're like, mental, perfect. And then they...
Well, and then there's so many labels. Yeah.
I feel much more connected to the environmental piece. Because like you said, it's so crazy that you said our authority is like one of the easiest ones. Because when you think about it, it is. But when it's presented to you from traditional human design standpoint, it's a process. It's like you just have to talk it out with some people. Which people? Oh, you got to figure out which ones you can trust, and then put yourself in environments. Which environments? Oh, figure that one out on your own. It's different every time. And it sounds very complicated. But when you said to just like go with what you want to do, I think I have to bust through the fact that I don't trust. I feel like something is tricking me. I don't know what it is, why I feel that way. Like something is
conditioning. It's your conditioning of your not self mind. I'm just going to get a little blunt here, and I'm doing it for provocation.
You could say, go for it.
Okay. It's your mom, it's your dad, it's your grandma, it's the guilt trips, it's it's the teacher that like didn't, that was a bitch. It was, like all of those people are stuck in your openness. They're in you, and like those things, you have to re-see those things and release those things. That's what deconditioning is all about. It's about becoming yourself and letting go of all of this crap that's been conditioned into you. The name of the game is surrender. The name of the game is to like realize that the mind is never going to shut up. And to like give it stuff to do, let it measure things, let it compare and all of that sort of stuff. But it's not the CEO of the company anymore. Mm-hmm. Your authority is the CEO of the company. What feels good? What doesn't feel good? Do you feel safe? Do you not feel safe? You know, like it's super simple once you get the handle to it. Once you surrender to the fact that the things that people have projected onto you is not what you are, it becomes immensely easy. But that's a long road to handle, and it's really scary, and it hurts, and you got to remember a lot. Like I told you before we started recording, I'm in bitterness today because, you know, like I'm dealing with things around some adoption trauma for me, and I mean, I understand it's touchy, you know, and it's not intended to be immediate. You know, like mutations come in drips. You know, we have the channel of mutation in right now, and you know, the 60 tells us that it comes in drips, and it comes in through surrender. When we're surrendered to correctness, when we're surrendered to our definition, then and only then can the mutations come in. And these mutations aren't like a conscious decision to be different. It's at a genetic level, a toggling of the way you operate as a bio-spiritual entity that becomes something different. It changes the fractal line of what's going on. There is nothing to do. There's just stuff to undo, in my perspective. That's what deconditioning is. It's releasing the conditions to becoming yourself.
And sometimes you think you're really far, and then something happens, and you're like, crap, like I'm still like here in this spot in my mind.
But transference is mechanical too. You're going to get pulled in. You're going to get sucked right out of that. Like you could be the Buddha for a moment. Like you could just like reach total enlightenment, time stops, everything is gorgeous and everything like that. And eventually something is going to suck you out of it. You know, like for me, I'm going to get sucked into guilt. Now I got to fix everything. And then, you know, like gate 4 is like all.
Yeah. We'll get him back. I'm producing over here.
Yeah, sorry about the internet.
Oh no, you're good.
That's okay.
This is really interesting to hear. So
yeah, and I love all of this because I think as mental projectors, we have the biggest potential for conditioning with our aura and our openness and the lack of information. And this is also why I get really curious about the variables to look at that, just like certain aspects to maybe point people towards their inner authority and their inner knowing, so that they can find little glimpses that helps them to surrender more and tune into that.
I pulled a tarot card before we came on today.
You did?
I haven't pulled for a very long. Well, I've been pulling a little bit lately, but not.
Yeah, it's been a while. What card did you get?
I got the 9 of Cups, which is like in a lot of the books, it's like wishes. It's in like very traditional tarot. It's like wishes, the wish card. It's like if you pull this card, your wish is granted. Like that's kind of the deal. But when I looked more into it, it also has to do with like material things, like being really into like shallow things and materialism and things like that. I don't pull, Matt, very I was pulling for a while for myself because I was trying to learn. So I was pulling a card a day, and then I got really over it. I was like, this is annoying. And so I tried pulling for other people, which went much better. And I realized Rebeka was like, you're really good at this. And I feel very self-conscious because I don't know what the cards mean. So I have like my little book, and I'm like, oh, looking up the things and telling people. And that to me feels not intuitive, and I want to be intuitive about it, but I also don't really know anything. So I'm just kind of going with it. But I pulled 9 of Cups before we came on today.
Yeah. Would you like to hear what the 9 of Cups is in my favorite tarot book? Because it's an important card.
Yes, and then I need to know what your favorite is.
So
oh, okay. I know which one that is. Got it.
Yeah,
I have that one in my card, I think.
Yeah. So it says the calming feeling of being right where you're supposed to be at the right time and with the right people is strong with this card. To accomplish emotional satisfaction, achievement of personal goals, and spiritual enlightenment, this all takes a journey of great search, strength, and patience. This card is a clear sign that you've reached the end of an emotional journey and have now found peace within areas where there were chaos or was chaos and doubt. There may still be work that needs to be done, but it's nothing compared to what you've been through already. You have managed to trap the beast, and the worst is behind you. Now it's time to slip into the warm, embracing depths of tranquility and peace for a while, to quietly celebrate your emotional progress, spiritual growth, and immaterial fortune.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
in this book, the Nine of Cups is more about spiritual development, or spiritual progress.
And this is why tarot's hard for me, is because everybody has opinions on what every card means. So you just kind of have to.
Yeah, but I mean, you're a third line. You're just third line. You're like
I know.
Like third line your way to understand. Like divination is dope. Like you pulled a great card. Like the themes of this card are in this conversation. We're not done though. Now you have achieved a level of emotional satisfaction. Perhaps it's time to direct your attention to other areas of your life where you're lacking the same sense of fulfillment and progress. Maybe you need to ground yourself, attend to practicalities you've been neglecting, or start to share your blessings and knowledge. Or do you still have dreams or fantasies you wish to explore? Life is one long journey of endless detours and adventures. So even though at this point you feel a sense of completion, it's merely a pause before setting off again. And the keynotes are peace, spiritual growth, immaterial fortune, and blessed.
Let me get that book. That was so cool. You have a really good reading voice, like speaking voice. You should read books to people.
That's kind of what I do. I mean, yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. It's hard for me because it's, like I said, I don't like to share things with people unless I feel like I'm being authentic. And when I have books and notes and stuff, I don't know, it feels inauthentic to me, but it also feels very third line. And when I pull for other people like that, I pulled saying, what's the energy around the podcast today? And that's what I pulled. And usually when I pull for other people, it's crazy. When I pull for myself, sometimes it's very, this doesn't mean anything to me.
I mean, to be honest with you, divination is a big part of my past. And most tarot readers I know don't pull for themselves. So that's kind of abnormal to pull for. It's more like casual spirituality. You see it in that's influencer stuff and whatnot. But real true divination specialists, they normally don't pull for themselves. I do though. But I do yes, no questions. And then use the keynotes to kind of guide the conversation.
Oh my God, that sounds so scary. I've never thought to do that.
Oh, it is. It's extreme, very. There have been it's taken me down some pretty dark roads and some pretty confronting things. But that's, divination is literally the art of journeying into the subconscious mind. And that stuff is subconscious for a reason. You have to be ready to shine light into it and witness it.
Yeah. I pulled a spread for myself the other day, and it always freaks me out because all my cards are turned all topsy-turvy everywhere because I like reverse. A lot of people don't, but I think it's an interesting take. And I did a 6-card spread, and I pulled 6 cards randomly, and they were all right side up, every one. And that was, to me, very weird because my deck is all over the place on purpose. So immediately when that happened, I was like, this is weird. And that kind of stuff I think is cool, but also, I don't know.
No, it is. And I don't know your full mechanics. I haven't looked at your body graph, but as a mental projector, you're designed to see, you're at the highest vantage point. You can see the connectivity between.
When she has inner vision, so it makes
inner
sense.
Vision, inner sense, survival caves. This is me. I look like Rebeka a little bit.
Okay.
But different. Same but different. I love how here you go. Here's my little iPad chart.
Yeah, curiosity, conscious and unconscious, or is the 11 hanging in the personality?
I have 11 3 times. I have it in unconscious Neptune, unconscious South Node, and conscious Neptune.
Okay.
That and gate 50 are the most I have that 3 times as well.
Yeah.
Responsibility.
Yeah.
My least favorite thing. Oh man. Well, this has been super interesting, and we haven't even talked about the thing that sparked this whole we need to be a mental projector triad podcast. Which is, and now this helps me because you the way you feel about soundboarding, it helps me to talk about this the way that I do, because I know you don't have any like soundboarding has to look like this. We were talking about it the other day with
nobody knows how to soundboard with a mental projector.
No, we don't.
And you can't really effectively soundboard with a mental projector. My mind is going to be talking to your mind.
Yeah.
I
never thought about that. Like, we're not supposed to soundboard with each other.
No, it's like, I mean, like, if you want to, like, you can do the opposite of soundboarding. I can seek advice. I can seek you guidance from you, and you can guide me really well. Like, your mind is a friend to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I mean, like, your mind wants to help me. Your mind does not want to help you.
Yeah.
And the not self mind it's the obstacle. So your mind is not your best friend. And we can give one another advice, but I can't really soundboard off you because you lack the definition I need to be able to mature the idea through my openness.
I never thought of it. Rebeka,
That's
we can't
what
soundboard.
Soundboarding is a part of it. It's like an echolocate. We have to broadcast our frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And then feel it through the mechanics of other people, and it has to really be specific people. Or if you don't have to make the decision right now, you just wait, and eventually the moon is going to tickle everything in the body graph once a month. So that's where you can like use that lunar being sort of strategy as another thing. Is like, try to wait about a month if you can.
You're like soundboarding with the moon.
Basically, yeah. I mean, you can do like, I mean, if you're into spirituality and stuff like that, and not a fundamentalist, like, because like, I mean, human design is the mechanics of this stuff. There's a whole spiritual layer on top. Like, it's like, it feels like really like below, like below the 4th line kind of stuff. It's down in the in the lower trigram.
That's why I liked it so much when I first came to it. Was it felt very logical, and it felt very mechanical.
Totally, like totally, yeah. But there's like, we talk about dualities and stuff, but like, it's only been like, everybody's been trying to fix everything in place and make something like true. And yeah, it might be true then. It might have been true in 1994, but like 30 years has happened between now, and we have evolved. There have been mutations that have come in. The world is not what it was in 1994. No. At all. Yeah. So that means that we have to, like, this, evolve. We can't hold on to source like it's the eternal truth. It was just a message then.
Well, and especially for us, right? Like, you and I have talked about this, how Raw was basically like, here's this thing called a mental projector. It's cool, but you guys got to go figure it out. Mm-hmm. So go do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're doing it.
Yes.
Okay, Raw, we're doing it.
We can even move it, and if we can move it a millimeter, and understanding it would be a great thing. Figuring it out is a lofty goal,
right?
But, I think one of the things is like to really free mental projectors from is this idea that like this is the whole point of human design, is to become your own authority. And I understand that you want kind of an orientation into how to do that. Like, that's how we've been conditioned. I went to school to learn everything I know, right? Like, that's what I was told, right? But might be true for 1-3s, Rebeka, but for a 2-4, like, I didn't learn it in school.
I'm very bitter about school because I worked very hard and I was a great student, and I thought my life would be perfect after that, and it was not.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, bitter about a false promise.
I did it perfectly, and it died. What happened?
Like, I was a grade 1-3 student, and I passed my tests, and then life happened. So I think it makes me a better teacher, though. Like, when I'm in the classroom with kids, I'm like, you know what? This really doesn't matter. They're like,
I tried really hard in school, and this doesn't mean anything. So you're fine.
I'm like, you'll be fine.
Oh, that's so funny.
But sorry, we God,
I was saying that I think the thing that really free us up is like having the two of you as third lines, and like, you know, like this is a great thing that you're doing. This podcast is like allowing us to see that we don't have to follow, we don't have to give our authority away to what some, you know, analyst wrote, to what some 5-1 manifester said about us. Ra, you know, like, I mean, I'm not afraid of fundamentalism. I have deep respect for Ra, I have deep respect for source, but I am my own authority. The first words that man uttered was, "Don't trust me." Okay, invitation accepted.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I love. If you really listen to him, he's not trying to be the one on the pedestal. He's like, I just have this information, and he's saying it very correctly for his mechanics.
Oh yeah, that's why it's hard for me to listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I find that that's fine, because then you tell me, like I said, Rebeka will tell me stuff, or somebody will like package it in a way that's much more digestible for me. And I'm like, oh, I understand this now. But yeah, listening to Ra, I've listened to a few of them. A lot of the ones on projectors I listen to when I clean my apartment, and they're good, but it's hard to listen to stuff about, you know, it's hard to listen to stuff about projectors because we're like projector adjacent. We're over here. And it feels very, I guess that's a good question for you, Matt. How do you feel? Do you feel like, how projectory do you feel today? I don't know how to ask this question, but it's like, do you feel like projector information that is given out really fits for mental projectors, or sometimes, or I don't know?
Yeah, I mean, at an auric level, I mean, I definitely all of the projector aura stuff really does resonate with me. You know, like, you know,
penetrating aura,
focused, penetrating and absorbing aura. And again, for a mental projector, with our openness, that's, you're absorbing the other person. So the person that you're focusing, like, we can't be slutty with our attention. Like, that is the number one thing. Like, you have to be really, really discerning about like who you absorb into yourself as a projector. And yet, like, it's just this like divine comedy that, like, you know, that is impressioned on us at birth, that basically leads us right into doing it the wrong way so that we can become wise about how to get out. You know, it's this idea of I used to be a fan of the show The West Wing, and there's this one scene in it where a guy falls down in a hole, and a doctor walks by, and the guy yells up and says, you know, like, "Hey doc, can you help me? I'm down in this hole." The guy writes a prescription, throws it down, and walks off. Priest walks by, he's like, hey father, can you help me out? He's like, you know, writes down a prayer, throws it down a hole, and walks off. And then his friend walks by and he says, "Hey Joe, I'm down here in this hole, can you help out?" And the friend jumps down in the hole, and the guy in the hole says, "Joe, you idiot, now we're both stuck down in the hole." He's like, "No, I've been down here before and I know the way out." You know, and like that, in my opinion, is that's the epitome of a mental projector. We are wise guides because we know the way out of the hole. We know the way back to, if we do surrender properly to correctness, we will learn the way back to our trueness. And the big blessing is the curse. Like, the openness is both the gift and the curse, you know. And that's why I kind of like the Gene Keys approach of, like, you know, like it's a transformative approach from like sort of a limitation to a, you know, like to an, like, I don't remember their terminologies, but like there's 3 stages of it. You're trying to get to which is a spiritual gift, really, you know, like the proper expression of it. And you know, like that's our whole journey. And you as a 6 line, you know, like, I mean, that it adds additional like complexity to it, because like you have to do that in 3 stages, so you got to do it 3 times.
Yeah, I guess that is what's happening, isn't it? Yeah, and that whole 3-stage thing, I like it, but I also, and I had this conversation with another mental projector I know, 2-4, and he said, well, because you're a 3-6, you're going to be coming off the roof to try things out and then going back up. He goes, you come up and down probably more than any of the other profile combinations, just because you can't know from up there as easily as the other types can know. You have to come and experiment with it. I also have 10 third lines in my chart, so I'm very third line heavy. And so I know that my 6-line process looks different. And when people talk about the 6-line process, I used to get very frustrated because I didn't feel like I could be up there for very long. Like I felt like I was being pulled back down into like trying things out and experiencing things for myself. And I was like, oh no, I have to be up there longer. I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing the roof right. I have to get this right. And then I let go of that because the whole right and wrong is well.
I have another 6-line generator in my life that says the same exact thing, and he's in his mid-30s. Yeah, it feels like he's constantly has that tug of war. He wants to be on the roof and is compelled to be there. And that's where satisfaction is, but he continually gets kind of pulled back into, and I think, again, that's like, I know I'm not saying this exactly right, but it's, it's like, it's the best terminology I can think of it is like revertigo. It's like either your mind or someone that you're with is pulling you back into older mechanics. It's like you're getting pulled in through transference into remembering who you were and like feeling responsible to be that person. When you really can just stand and give yourself permission to be on the roof whenever you're ready, and whatever that looks like for you. Like the way somebody describes it is just one way. Again, this is all about differentiation. The program does not want you to experience your roof time like any other person. It would have no purpose or value.
Yeah.
It has to be different.
Yeah, it does. It's very annoying though. I get like impatient. Roof time is a long time.
Yeah, well, it sounds lonely. It sounds lonely, it sounds unfamiliar, There's also a lot of sunlight on the roof, you can get a little burned and a little parched, and but that's the whole thing, is like going into that third phase is it normally requires a little crisis, right? Like you have to crisis your way into maturity.
Don't say crisis to me. That's my Mercury. I think it's Mercury. That's my only gate. That's my only defined gate in the solar plexus is
36.
No, is 6. Oh no.
Oh, 6.
I have 6.
6 is friction, huh?
Yeah.
6 is friction, yeah.
I'm sorry. Crisis is in Pluto for 2 million years. That's what it is. And it's defining my 35-36. But yeah, so the 6 is friction. And whenever people tell me that pisses me off, because I really like to get along with people and I don't like confrontation or friction or any of that shit. And I've had like people tell me, well, that's too bad. Like that's what's going to happen to you because this is how you communicate.
What if you just what if you experience it internally more?
Yeah. Also, I have to remind myself that friction isn't like a bad thing. Like a lot of times words carry connotations that make you go, oh, this is bad or hard or going to not be as fun as other parts of life. But sometimes friction really is an interesting test and experiment, and it's not necessarily like, oh, this is the end of the world.
Sometimes friction creates fire and warms everybody around it.
Oh, look at you.
It's also where you learn the emotional intelligence to to be ready for confrontation. You're designed to avoid confrontation.
My tears are ready.
Doesn't mean that you were born to avoid confrontation. Doesn't mean you have to die avoiding confrontation.
No, I know.
My
parents were alcoholics, so I have like super classic conditioning of adult children of alcoholics. Classic conditioning. TM.
But I was saying, it seems like every MP I talk to, our story is pretty. I could tell you my story and make you cry too. Like everybody got their ass kicked. And again, it's like, how are you going to guide people, especially? Like, think about when you're born, it's already shifting. I know that I can tell that the two of you see that the world is changing at a pace that's way quicker than it ever was before. And somebody's going to need people that are going to be ready, willing, and able to jump down in that hole and find the way to the 6th line. Like, how do we get out of this hole that we've dug ourselves into, back up to surface level? And that's right around the corner. So you kind of, I don't mean to you sort of have to just kind of find, reverence over time for the fact that it's been a little tough, and then extract the wisdom from those tough experiences, and guide from that. Like it'll help you make really good questions to ask people to glide through life. Like you've already been there, done that. You got the t-shirt. So, like as the wheels fall off the wagon, like you're already on the ground. You're not in the calamity. You've got a preview of it, and you've been through school, and now it's time to lead.
Yeah. I don't know. When people talk about the third line, a lot of times, I don't think my life has been that difficult. I just think of other people's lives and go, well, that seems way worse than anything that I ever had to go through. I think it has a lot to do with the resilience of the third line. And also, it's hard to judge yourself and your experiences objectively and go, oh, this was hard, because it's your own stuff. You're like,
you just described something very, very difficult. I don't think that wounding is a competition. There's always going to be somebody that had it better and somebody that's worse. That's all the mind doing that, measuring and comparing. Your truth is your truth, and you can update your relationship to your truth. So like you can, like my parents hurt me, right? And like I can choose to judge them through what I am right now, or I can remember that they were also scared 28-year-old, like don't know shit about shit people that were trying their best, and and all of that sort of stuff, and develop a new relationship with the memory that I have, and stop telling myself a story that I'm a victim. And you're not doing that. But at the same time, like you just described, like I'm sorry that happened to you, that's like, it's okay for that to be that way.
I've never felt a victim. Like that's never been something well,
yeah, because you're designed to be a martyr. I mean, like that's the third line is like, I mean, like you're designed to be a martyr. You're designed to always see like think about this the other way, right? Like, is that like, like I'm looking, I see, and I'm a projector, so I see problems, I see martyrs, and my mind is making their, like their circumstances worse than mine. So I should just be grateful. No, it happened.
I do say that. I do say I should just be.
No.
Oh, that's so funny.
I mean, you can be grateful that you had that experience so that you can learn the way out of it. You can be grateful for the fact that they tried their best. You can be grateful for a lot of things, but it doesn't change the truth that you were hurt.
Yeah.
So that's so it's there is not a this or that. It's a this and that kind of a thing. And we live in it's consciousness is rather binary. I mean, and I don't fully ascribe to the idea in human design about a biverse and binary this and that. Like I start to lose me, especially when you drop below the line, it gets a little weird. I'm open to it, not convinced yet, and probably will die doubting it, as a proper, 449. But yeah, I mean, it's all of those experiences are just memories of what happened. That's where your wisdom is locked. And once you can de-pretzel the feelings, the emotions that are kind of like distorting those, that's the conditioning. Once you can get those feelings out and see it through the lens of the awareness that you've cultivated now, you can write a more empowered narrative. And that narrative is that's the new story that you're operating on. And this is happening at like a genetic level. So that's why I really like human design and its ability to connect us to the binary operation at a cellular level of like when we actually mutate and start to replicate new epigenetic stories inside of our cells. And that little society of cells that is like this body that we think is us starts to operate differently in the world. And it only happens through acceptance. Acceptance and surrender, and yet we're conditioned to that we have to fix it.
We have to do something.
We're sitting in fix-it energy right now, right? Like, I mean, that's an immature 4 is always trying to formulate the answer or the solution to something.
Yeah, there's some sort of code that's got to unlock something. You just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, geez Louise, this has been such a cool conversation. Rebeka, did you have any questions for Matt or for me, or do you have anything you want to say?
I don't know, I'm processing a lot of stuff. I always really appreciate listening to Matt. I feel like there's a lot, I mean, I've been taking a lot of notes.
Oh yeah, I've seen you. You're just, so I love it. It's so first line perfection.
But I did, I guess, want to talk a little bit about our mastermind coming up.
I was going to say, if you don't talk about anything else, talk about this.
Our essential vision for that, just so in case anybody hasn't heard about it or is curious about more. So are you up for just talking about that a little bit, Matt?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that we've kind of already touched all around it, like given sort of a preview or a sample of the kinds of conversations that we're hoping to have. I don't think that either Rebeka or I are looking to be the person that figures it out, to use that whole, here I am, a 4.2 conscious son, telling you that I have no desire to formulate the answer. But what I do, through my fourth line is to try to provide linkage, to some mental projectors that are really interested in truly entering to the experiment. They really want to do it. They don't want to just learn it in the head, and they're not looking for a prescriptive solution. They want to become surrendered to their true authority so that they can vibrate and become their true self. Those mental projectors coming together to share experience, perspective, all through our mechanics and cooperating through our mechanics and our unique ability to see things in a very specific, ordered way, even if it's abstract and or logical. There's still such a logical framework in the abstraction process of a mental projector, and its ability to create these broad mapped, sort of things and to see through the noise. And so that's what we're hoping to do, is bring a group of mental projectors together that will co-create resources for mental projectors of present and the future to be able to operate correctly as themselves, to pick up where the sidewalk ends in the human design system, and start doing what Ra asked us to do, which is to figure ourselves out for the future, for the present and the future generation of mental projectors. Because it's my belief, the thing that drives me is that the world is going to need us really soon, and it's time to wake up.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that. And I'll say that I do want to create resources for that. You said something in the beginning and I was like, oh no, I'll do that. That's for me to do. I just have this vision of Matt, provoking things and asking these questions and getting things. And then I'm in the back, just like most of this conversation, where I'm taking notes. And I'm like, oh, interesting.
Isn't that so nice that she wants to do that? She does that for me. And I'm like, it takes a big breath of fresh air, because I don't want to create PDFs or that stuff. To me, that's not fun. And you're
let's look at this and then put it in a nice, pretty format, because I have so many curiosities with and it's this interesting balance though of, as mental projectors, our only definition is the ajna, and so we automatically seek this mental certainty because that's where our definition is. And so it's this balance of not letting that take control and surrendering to our system, like you were talking about, but then also using it as its resource that it's meant to be used as. And so that's something I toggle with a lot, probably because of all my one lines. But I am curious, if it was something hey, look, everybody really leans on their motivation and that really helps to go internal, then we're going to talk about that more. And I'm just curious about some of the nuances. So I'm really excited to hear the conversations that come through it and the nuance that comes through Matt in this. And it's just been a lot of fun experimenting so far. And I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Yay. I'm excited for you guys, because I think this is fun for you. And want to hear something hilarious that human design really helped me out with? When you told me you were doing this, I had a flash of jealousy for a second. And then my entire body was like, you don't want to do this. This does not sound fun. This sounds hard. This sounds no. And I was like, yes, I can be happy for these people doing something that I think is cool. But I'm not I want to do this too, because I do not. And I felt very happy that I could say that. And it's similar to when I'm I don't want to teach people. I thought that was me giving up something that was important that I could offer to people, but I realized that it's really not what I want to do at all. And so I think
it's not what you designed to do.
No, and I think I think if people, when they have FOMO or when they see other people doing things that they think they want to do, take a second to think about what that would actually mean for you. Like what you would have to do what they're doing. Do you want to do all that other stuff? No. Does it just look like they're having fun doing that thing? Yeah. Okay. Then you can say, great job doing your thing. It looks fun, but I'm over here. And it really kind of gets rid of like all jealousy and FOMO, because I don't want to do all the back end stuff.
That was like, you just role model just perfectly. Like what a nice, vulnerable,
now you're trying to make me cry.
Like really authentic expression of, it's perfect. Just perfect.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It actually
that was a very valuable, you just said that. That's super valuable. People that's gonna make a good impression to people that hear this, that we have feelings. The world teaches us that we're not allowed to have feelings like that. Those feelings are valid, and it's okay to share them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I agree.
And then I love the piece where you connected the fact that you actually really asked yourself a question. You slipped into, you slipped in and said yeah, but what I really want to buy, because I agree with you. For me, it had to be correct. Rebeka has done the majority of it just happens for me. I'm not looking to actually, she's organized it, right? And I feel guilty about that, but then but we've talked openly about it, and through that correctness, through that open discussion, then you don't have to, I don't have to worry about getting sucked back into guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what what you have guilt
no, transference? I'm innocence motivation with desire transference.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
I'm just here.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got oh my God, you must that innocence. I mean, the 4 is all about innocence. So, your innocence is just getting bathed.
Yeah.
It's innocent, really nice. Inexperienced energy, it's so
maybe that's why I like Sean so much, is because he's a 2-4 and I'm innocence. He's desire. He's my transference, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I can feel it in him.
You can get tricky. You get sucked into that.
Yeah, because I can feel it in him. And a lot of times, like you say, I get kind of sucked in because he has this confidence about himself that I don't understand where it comes from at all. Not to say he shouldn't be confident, but I can't get that for myself. I can't access that for myself. But when I'm around him, it's he's a 2-4. Yeah, he's a 2-4. Yeah.
Oh, that's where it comes from.
I know. And that's it's so, I know that's where it comes from, but just like you say, you can't explain, there's no way to cite your source. You just are this confident, cool, awesome person. And I've described the 2-4 to Rebeka as me, as in high school, it was the person who everybody liked and who was popular with all the groups, but didn't do anything to be that. They were just there and everybody liked them. Was that you? You son of a bitch. That was Sean. He played one sport, maybe for a minute, but all the groups were he was in with this group and that group. And I wanted to be that person so bad in school. Now I don't, because it seems my mechanics couldn't do that. It'd be too difficult. It'd be exhausting. But seeing that's how I see it 2-4.
It's a little lonely, to be honest with you, because you're accepted in all the groups, but you don't really belong to any of them. So in belonging, this is a really deep, a really deep, for me, I'm an adoptee. So a belongingness is a trauma trigger even, so I might be projecting a little of my individual experience in that, but I enjoyed being able to be, but that's a 4th line thing, you're kind of a glad hander, you network and you link things together. As a projector, you're recognizing this guy in the band would really get along really well with this jock on the football team, and I can make a connection here, and link these 2 groups together. There's value. You can do your thing that way.
And as an adult, I feel that's such a valuable skill to have and to do for people.
Yeah, well, it doesn't pay well.
I know none of this does, believe me. We tried. Or I try to figure it out in my mind. I'm like, how can I monetize this shit? And I've really tried to let that go. And now I'm like, whatever.
No, success will come right to you as soon as you allow it. Yeah.
Okay.
It might not look like the success that your parents told you needed to have and stuff like that. But do you want all of the money in the world, or do you want to feel successful?
I just want to feel secure and safe. I'm survival view, by the way, and caves. So I just want like safety. And for me, financial safety is like the pinnacle of safe. It's the most safe you could be, which doesn't make any sense because that's not really true. Like you could have all the money in the world and be shot in the face, and that messes with your physical safety quite a bit.
Or exploded at the bottom of the
or get like a terrible disease and you're just like wasting away for years. That Rebeka, that was not too soon at all. That was perfect. I love that. Good job. Or explode at the bottom of the See, that's why I think that my idea of financial security is wonky, because wouldn't physical security be more important?
Well, in our society,
I think security is an aspect of success. I think that there are components, like it's like water, right? Water is not water. It's hydrogen and oxygen, kind of bonded together. And so success is, all of these little elements that, sort of come together in its own unique way to define what success feels like for the three of us. It's individual. My definition of success is different than yours. So it's not like water in the sense that like my success might be more like Gatorade, like it's got some extra shit in it.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I feel that because I feel my success, like the feeling of feeling successful really tied to financial in my own. And I try to tell myself that that's not good, but now I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Well, look at where we are in the financial world in the collective right now. This is it's highly inflated. Our currency is doing weird things. The geopolitical scene is. I don't think that there's a person on Earth right now that doesn't feel a little queasy about like the future of our financial being. Your grocery bill is 2 to 3 times what it used to be. People can't afford rent for the first time on minimum wage. So I think that that's just what's going on too, I don't think there's a person on, you'd have to be delusional not to be a little bit financially concerned at the moment.
And my survival view is like shit, and my innocent motivation is like, it's cool. It's very I think that's why I have a problem with trust, is because I have some big pieces of my design that are like that. Everybody has that.
That's it. There's nothing but polarities. There's nothing but this and that fighting with it. I have hope and guilt, that's my, those two things don't play nice together.
No, they don't. What are your fear and
I'm fear, motivation.
What's your view?
Probability. So there's a weird thing too, because fear wants that solid foundation. It wants to fill in all the holes, and probability is like, well, I don't know. Look, there's more things over here that could probably go. And
this is possible, and this is possible, and this is
possible. It's not like the opposite of probability is possibility. So it's a interesting thing, but yeah. So I have that too, where it's like I've got to manage that desire for the foundation and wanting to have that solid foundation, and also seeing that there's 100 other ways that this could go.
I read something interesting that
doesn't actually exist.
Yeah, that probability is about, a lot of times it's about the immediate.
No, probability is about the future more so, and possibility is like
immediate possible. Right, okay, I'm getting my P's mixed up, I think is what's happening.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
So Rebeka, for you, that would look like a signpost of like when you're trying to figure it out, or when you're trying to be certain about what's going to happen a month or a year or 5 years from now, and you're obsessing over that, and like you're just feeling, like up against resistance, that it's a signpost to like sort of take a step back, and maybe visualize or try to understand what fear is sort of like triggering you into trying to know how it's going to work out. Is that a fair way of looking at navigate? Because that's how I do guilt. When I realize that I'm trying to figure something out, it's like you have gotten off course. Like,
yes.
Think what got you off course. Like, who was it? What situation was it that led you to believe that you have to fix something? And and typically it's the person to fix their problem for.
That would seem a fairly correct assessment for sure. I know the signpost for me is when I transferred a need, and that what you described is very needy to me, where it's like, I need to know what to do right now so that I can secure my future and I can take care of myself and my kids for the next 5, 10, forever years. And that moves very much into need. Like, I need to know these things. And that's the angsty part. And so then when I can relax into it and say, okay, look, we're building the foundation today and we're just going to chill, then it can change.
I never think about what puts me into my transference or who. I've never done that. Like you just said, how you're like, how did I get here?
I do that.
I don't know why.
I invite you to experiment with it. Like, I mean, first of all, like, I mean, I'm really new to human design, by the way. So like everything I'm saying is just part of my experiment. I'm with you, Janelle. I'm not here to teach human design. I'm here to help people individuate. So, and to accept themselves as they are. You have to accept your limitations. You're not here to make yourself what you aren't.
I know. I just think it's interesting.
It's surrendering to what we are defined to be.
Yeah. I think I will. I have a hard time looking back. We've talked about this with Rebeka. I have a hard time looking in the past. Like, I don't like to think about the past or look at the past. It feels irrelevant to me, and the future and the now seem like the relevant things. So to even go, 2 days ago, what put me in transference, to think even that little back, kind of, it's just not something that I would consciously do.
That's why you need a guide that, like, is skilled at helping to make sense of the past. Shameless plug.
Like, I never.
Right. That's why the Mental Projector Mastermind could be beneficial.
Okay, so it's true. I never really, like, literally when you just said, how did I get here? In my head, I was like, wait, am I supposed to know? Am I supposed to think about that? Like, how I got to where
because it helps you
so confused.
Be more. I gotta say too, like, I don't know, I just feel like I need to clarify with the fear motivation, probably because I can just hear this question a lot from other people because of that word fear. It's like, oh, it must be revolved around fear, but it's really an intelligence, like the same kind of fear that comes out of the spleen and the solar plexus and the ajna. It's about an intuition, it's about an awareness, it's about an intelligence of building that foundation. So it's not necessarily that you're afraid all the time. I find that when I'm afraid, I'm actually in my need transference. And Ra talks about that too. Like, he labeled a lot of things as the not self so that you can be aware of what's actually happening. So for anybody who has like fear motivation and might be weirded out by it, it
sounds worse than it doesn't. I agree with you. And to me, you don't come off as a generally afraid person at all. You come off as the opposite.
Well, and knowing this helped me with that though, because I find it funny. I have a judgment tone under my fear motivation. And I realized that for years, like right before I found human design, I was trying to figure stuff out. And my big mantra was love is stronger than fear. Love is greater than fear. And I was trying so hard to focus on love because I was so afraid about so much. And I always say, observe, don't judge. Right. And so I was like, it's just so interesting how I was kind of working with my motivation and my tone under that without realizing it, but having these labels helped me to relax into it and to surrender into it and to understand what's actually happening here.
Tones. She teaches me about tones and bass, and I don't
know anything about bass yet, but
I love how you said yet, because you will know
at some point.
Like, that's amazing. I'm like, I don't know about this thing, and she's like, yet, because I will have it when it interests me and I have the time.
Yeah, substructure is wild. It really is. It's wild.
I don't know anything about it.
That was a good save, Rebeka, because fear is probably the most like activating terminology that we threw out there.
Yeah.
in the motivation world. And yeah, like that was exactly what I knew about it, was that it's being wise at like skillfully avoiding the things that you're afraid of. Like you not being afraid. It's like knowing how not to even get there.
Guilt is an interesting term for people too. I think that's another one that's like, whoa.
Yeah, anybody with guilt, they're like, what in the world? But that's the one I have.
Am I supposed to feel guilty all the time? That's what people ask me. Am I supposed to just feel guilty all the time? Yes. No. You're not. But it's just, yeah, the terminology a lot of times in design is you get one word or you get like one thing and you're like, hey, so if something grabs you, maybe look into it, because it probably doesn't mean what you think it means most of the time.
Because again, Ra translated it correctly through his structure, and it's all about shock and it's about health, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Matt. I just realized we've been talking for a long time, and I really appreciate you sharing this time and space with us.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really excited about MPMM and what's coming up with that.
I'm really happy to meet you. And I don't know how long you've been in your experiment, but you don't sound knowledgeable. You sound like it's already there. Like it's already been there the whole time. It's like been imprinted in you this whole time. I don't know what it is, but when you talk, it comes off so different than when you speak. It's like,
yeah, I know. Isn't that cool? That's why I love it. Like you can hear the 2/4, the abstract, you can hear his channels, like,
but you can hear yours too. You can hear.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I love this system so much. It's like you guys are like, I don't want to teach foundational stuff, and I'm like, oh, Matt. It's great. It's a great combo.
Later when you know some shit, because we don't want to teach you anything. And yeah.
But I can't, like, listening to Matt's translation of everything, it just always sparks so much for me, and I love it so much.
But it doesn't sound book smart, and you sound book smart to me when you talk, which isn't a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's very like, I know I can trust you. Like I feel very much like you are the cited source. Like you are. Whenever I hear it, I'm like, oh, I know she got that from somewhere good. Trust her. Got it. Genius. But when you speak, it's like, where the fuck is this coming from? I have no idea, but it sounds like amazing. Like, I don't know. You have a very good speaking voice. So it's like, I think that has something to do with it. I'm really attracted to people who have good, like, who can tell a good, like their voice is like, I just love to, that's why I think Ra is so to me, is because his voice is terrible, but it's just monotone. Huh?
I think it's perfect. I'm so grateful that Ra was the messenger. Like if I were a divine intelligence, I would have picked Ra to be the messenger of human design. Because I mean, I really do think that this system is brilliant. I mean, I mean, I don't think that it's novelly brilliant. I mean, it's the synthesis of a bunch of stuff that's been around for a long time,
mm-hmm.
Like sort of woven with science. But like, yeah, we've seen what happens with other messengers that come and sort of like add, light to the darkness. People, I mean, fundamentalism, like think religious fundamentalism and what that's brought to the world. Like, not very many people are going to like blindly follow Ra Uru Hu, like as like their religious leader. So I think he's perfect. Like he got the message perfect. Like it's perfect. He's a perfect expression of the mechanics. You have this like repelling aura, that's negative. These people up, and then he just dropped the mic and left.
That's true.
Perfect.
Yeah, you're right. No one really views Ra Uru Hu as like the god of human design.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So some people like they feel like they're tuning into Ra's frequency, and then they somehow like have the ability to like have more authority than you in a science that's supposed to help you
like channeling
your own authority. They want to take like it's such a crazy convolution, but I mean I see that in all spiritual or esoteric traditions is that like the gatekeepers of the wisdom, try to elect themselves into positions of power. This is the very first line, cross of planning sort of a thing. And I'm looking forward to it going away.
right? Oh my gosh, this has been so cool. Thank you so much for talking to us. I'm sure we'll have you on again because we have a lot to say all the time.
It's nice meeting you.
It was nice to meet you too. And thanks for listening, you guys. If you're interested in the Mental Projector Mastermind, find Rebeka or Matt on socials or websites or however you find us, because we're there. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.